we had a big 200-year flood I would say about 10, 12 years ago, and we actually drove down and watched the flood come down the arroyo in Chokecherry Canyon, and it was incredible. Like when my father-in-law used to be in oil and gas, and Paul, you've been there. When they talk about arroyos flooding and swallowing cars.
Yeah, flash floods are scary.
It was no joke. I was like, okay, I get it. I understand now. It would swallow an entire vehicle or many vehicles all at once. Have you ever seen that out in the field, Paul?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 5 Mile Bridge out on Largo. We've seen a lot of vehicles get swallowed up by that wash.
That's crazy. How quickly or?
Oh yeah. I mean, you start going across because it's usually hard, and then as the water starts, the ground gets softer, so you start to sink. And then as that wall of water comes in, I've seen water trucks get swallowed up in a matter of minutes.
That's incredible.
Those are big trucks. And you talk about Chokecherry. I saw that on Friday. That was probably 30 feet across and getting it.
Yeah. So don't drive across.
No, even
arroyos.
like 4 or 6 inches of water can knock your car off too.
Well,
it doesn't take that much water.
Yeah, Friday morning I was going up La Plata right at the start of all the rain, and I hit a spot where there was about 6 inches of water. I was going about 30 miles an hour, and it did some stuff to the truck.
It feels like hitting a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden all that water is over your windshield and you can't see.
Yeah. Hydroplaning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that is one of the things about living in the Southwest is that our land does not absorb the water as much. So there are, those natural arroyos that carry that water. In fact, when we went out to Page, Arizona, we did the slot canyons like Antelope Canyon and whatnot. And they were telling me there was a mile canyon that we went through. And they said when there's flash floods, there's a 40-foot tall wave of water that goes through that entire canyon in like 15 seconds. I mean, if you are in the canyon, you are toast.
Right.
I was going to actually mention Moab because Moab is a place where people love. I don't think I would ever live in Moab because of like the flash floods and because it is literally all high desert. And it's not high desert like here where it's, the elevation with the mountains. It's like, it's like mainly canyons. So Moab makes me nervous especially with how many more people have been moving there recently. Flash flooding is scary if it's not something you're used to. And that's really kind of the only natural disaster we have here.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while we'll get a little twister, but not very rare to have a tornado.
Just stay out of the arroyos and get out a higher elevation. You're normally fine.
No earthquakes or anything like that. Unless Paul's gone to his favorite burrito shop.
We also don't get that much rain.
Oh, now we're in it. But let's circle that back to like real estate. How does that affect your property insurance? Are your parents paying a premium for that?
No, they pay for fire insurance though.
That's probably the bigger thing.
Yeah, they don't need flood insurance. They're like on the mountain. Even in Vicedo, I don't think any of those had, because I just sold one of the houses that is actually flooded. I had just sold it a few years ago and they didn't have flood insurance, but they did have fire insurance on it. Flood insurance just isn't super common unless you're like right on the river.
Yeah. And it's usually mandated. FEMA maps. FEMA maps. What about
some arroyos in town too?
Yeah, there are arroyos. Yeah. Gosh, through the country club and some of those other areas. We had that big 200-year flood.
Yeah. Crestwood Estates.
It exposed all those. You remember that? It kind of tore up some areas and they had to put in some retention ponds. One of the things I tell people is that when they build or they're adding something and you're out on your parcel, people, especially that have bigger parcels, do not mess with natural arroyos. Like they're there for a reason. How many years have they been there? Hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And now you're diverting water because you want a storage shed to go there. I mean, that is a problem that people create on themselves. If there's a natural arroyo there, try to respect the arroyo and don't divert the water. Have you seen any issues with that, Paul, and home inspections and whatnot?
With water diversion?
Yeah, water diversion.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you see?
Well, one of the things that we would check is site grading. So if the ground goes back towards the house, usually you can see it in the crawl spaces. water diverting away from the house is probably the best thing you can do for the house. All the material on the house is designed to keep water out of the interior. But if all the water comes back to the house, like we're talking about grading of the ground, that's probably the biggest problem that you'll have. And then when you have your roof structure, you have your gutters and everything, and then what they do is they put the downspout and they drop it right next to the foundation. That's not good either. So water diversion away from the house is key.
Yeah, so you carry all that water off your roof, you get it centralized to a downspout, and it goes straight down next to your foundation.
Yeah, stupid.
Which does exactly what you don't want it to do.
This house that I've listed in Durango right now, that was what they were thinking of, was like snow and water diversion. So they put all the gutters where they go down through like the ground and then out like under the driveway. They have roof dams everywhere and then snow heaters on the roofs as well. So it like drips off and then on one side of it, they have it where there's nothing. So the snow will just dump off. And then they have it sloped away from the house, the sidewalk. And then they have a drain out there that goes again out like into the yard.
Mm-hmm. That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. If you're going to redo your house, that's the things you need to think about.
Yeah.
I sold a house out in Aztec that has the whole lot slopes down towards the highway, and their house is in the middle. And they had all the water diversion. They had the French drains. They had the driveway was sloped. They had, scuppers along the sides. They had, all the gullies, culverts, everything. They did not want water at their house.
Yeah.
If you engineer it correctly, I mean, the ground will do all the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what we did when we built our houses. We piped our gutters directly into drain lines that run all the way out to the street and gravity feed to the street. And they just kind of like pop up. So when you have big rains, you'll see those heads pop up and water kind of flows out, and just keeping it away. Because, here, if you get water next to your foundation quite a bit, you can have expansive soils. And now all of a sudden you're getting settling and whatnot. What's really weird, back in like Oklahoma and stuff, actually, if the ground dries up, it's like the opposite, because they're so wet out there. You can have issues with your foundation. So water, big deal. Shannon, what do you think about when you think of water, houses? What's your biggest red flag, or what are some of the biggest things that you think of that homeowners should be doing to protect themselves?
Well, my ideas were kind of what we've already touched on. The negative grade to the house, that's always the first thing to look at, is try to make sure that your ground level isn't sloping back to the house where, when you have water, it's sitting and pooling up against the house. Guttering is very important. We just talked about that. I have had a few clients that just kind of have gone out and done, just a little bit of trenching around their house. So, like you say, you just let the ground do its job, so when it falls, it just kind of runs. It's always going to go down to the lowest point. So create a lowest point that makes it diverted away from the house. I think anything you can do about that. I think also keeping those gutters clean, because another problem is that they get clogged up with a lot of leaves. The leaves come in or debris, and then once they're clogged and it won't go down and it won't go out, then it's just spilling back, upwards, which is either going up on your roof if you've got a flat roof, or if you have a pitched roof, it's just running over and just falling right there at the house. So you're not having those things in place don't matter if you don't maintain them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, one of our neighbors was talking to my father-in-law. He said, "Hey, did you see me out on the roof?" And my father's like, "No, what are you doing up there?" And he goes, "Well, I didn't know this, but pine needles had built up. It looks like a flat top. So when you look at a Southwestern style home, obviously it looks like it's flat on top, but it's really not. You have a fake kind of parapet wall that goes down to what is a built-up roof. And a built-up roof has a slope, and the slope goes to what we call scuppers or canales that allow the water to drain out the side of the roof. Well, those filled up with pine needles, and he had no idea. So he had a huge
Swimming
lake
pool
on top of his in his garage roof, and next thing you know, he had water coming through everywhere in his garage. And so to your point, clean out your gutters, get up, take a look at your roof every once in a while, especially if you have a flat top or a built up roof. Those things are.
Well, even, a tar and gravel roof, the gravel's up there for ballast to keep the roof down. But what happens is over time, as the water builds up on the roof, it moves those rocks around and they get stuck in the canales. So that's one thing to look at too.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, we talk about getting the water away from the house, and it's not always practical. If you have an area where your gutter maybe runs down and you don't want a big long pipe like across your driveway or your walkway or something like that, something to consider is putting your downspouts in an area where you can have a rain barrel, and then you're not even trying to divert it away from the house. You're just capturing that, and you can use it for watering your lawn or anything that you want at another time. But then that water's just not even coming down, and that is just extra water that's not coming anywhere that you're trying to do something with.
Yeah. And you can use it later, because in New Mexico, we know, and it rains hard for 20, 30 minutes, and then maybe a little drizzle after that, or it goes right back to being sunny.